Some of you like reading Prabhupada's books, I bet. Yeah? In Bhagavad Gita, there's 18 chapters. And one way of analyzing the structure of Bhagavad Gita is, you good at math? Yeah. 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 3 times 6 equals 18. There's 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. 6 plus 6 plus 6. One way of considering the structure of Bhagavad Gita. We'll go over here for you. The first 6 deal with Karma Yoga. I mean, other topics, of course. The final 6 deal with Sankhya Yoga. And the middle 6 deals with Bhakti Yoga. Now, it's not just Karma Yoga. It's Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and meditation, Dhyan Yoga. But the preliminaries that lead up to Bhakti, and then the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are Bhakti. And then the final 6 chapters deal with Gyan, or Sankhya. What's Sankhya? One way of understanding what Sankhya is, it's the analysis of the juxtaposition of matter and spirit. Just like there's a nice verse in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 41. The first up to 39, Krishna is speaking about you're not the body. Or that we have a body, but it's not who we are. And so the distinction between matter and spirit, Sankhya. And then Krishna says in text 39, now that I have described to you Sankhya, he uses the word Sankhya, I'm now going to describe Buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. And you have to have intelligence to practice bhakti. It's the steering mechanism, and bhakti is the heart that moves the life of bhakti forward. But Buddhi Yoga, so Sankhya, then Buddhi, chapter 2. Then the other parts of chapter 2, then Krishna says at the end of chapter 6, which is the end of the first 6, Krishna says to Arjuna, now I'm going to describe to you the topmost yoga system. Of all systems of yoga, one of is the superlative, the Uttama brand or standard of yoga. And so Krishna then described Bhakti Yoga. And when he finishes Bhakti Yoga, he goes again to the Sankhya system. So chapter 13 is matter, spirit, matter, spirit, matter, spirit. Arjuna asks, could you please describe to me the following 6 topics? And there's 3 sets of 2. Kshetra and Kshetragya, matter and spirit. Jnanam and Gayam, knowledge and the object of knowledge. So, when Krishna is describing the systems of knowledge, he's the object of knowledge, but the system of knowledge is, you can look it up later, chapter 13, verses 8 through 12. And Krishna makes a nice long list and said these are the items of knowledge. And the first of the items of knowledge, the entry point into being able to know the absolute truth, is humility. Amanitvam. Amanitvam, badambidvam, etc. Humility and pridelessness. Because pride is the nemesis of humility. Without humility, you're going to be proud. And when you're proud, I have learned from Scripture and from practical experience, pride destroys everything good. Supposing somebody is good, that means they've done many meritorious activities, punya, krita punya, like it says about the cowherd boys. There's a nice verse in the Sukadeva Goswami is describing the activities of Krishna with the cowherd boys. And he just stops right in the middle of the narration of the activities with the cowherd boys. He speaks about how fortunate they are and uses this phrase, krita, punya, punja. They perform volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes. Who can say how many volumes, lifetimes and lifetimes of meritorious activities in order to have the opportunity to play with Krishna all day long. Their sadness is when the day ends and they have to go back home to their homes, that they can't wait till the next morning when they get together with Krishna. And it's like a party all day long. A Krishna party. Krita punya punja. So punya, or piety, brings merit, the fruits of piety. Merit. And the problem is, if persons are not having a clear understanding of matter and spirit, when the fruits of piety come, it's a problem, because they want to be the enjoyer of the fruits of piety, and they become sense gratifiers instead of transcendental piety, like the cowherd boys, or a Vaishnava. By rendering devotional service, there's also an incredible yield of the fruits of piety. Fortunately, as the devotees are engaged not just in piety but devotional service, and fruits of piety come, their interest is not becoming the enjoyer of the fruits of piety. Their interest is more absorption in Krishna, please. I remember as I'm speaking, I'm remembering very clearly sitting down here. Prabhupada was on his Vyasasan. This is in our Henry Street temple. Prabhupada was describing the same principle. And Krishna said, "Oh, you say you want me? Are you sure? How about a little sense gratification, And Prabhupada gestured and said, "No, I only want Krishna." How about some honor? I only want service to Krishna. Now Krishna then may say, this is Prabhupada, Krishna may then say, "Oh, he really wants me. Then let me give myself to him." It's a relationship. If somebody wants the fruits of piety, Krishna's ready. If somebody wants fame and recognition and honor and distinction, Krishna's ready. But he's more enthusiastic, but he also wants to examine the fruits of bhakti, which includes all those things without the interest of becoming the enjoyer of those things. So when there's humility, what does humility mean? Humility doesn't simply mean thinking lowly about oneself. Humility is an understanding of who we really are. That's what real humility is. So that you can say, "I'm not this, not this, not this," but then who are you really? And the tiny, fragmental spark of the big fire. the blazing fire, Krishna, the complete whole. We're the tiny Mamevangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We're the tiny fragmental part of the Supreme. And what is the part meant in relation to the whole? The part is meant to serve the whole. So many nice examples Prabhupada would give again and again. The finger is a part of the body, and the purpose of the finger is to serve the body. Supposing the finger was separated from the body, yuck, chopped off and just lying on the floor over there. Not very attractive. But you join the finger to the hand, and the hand serves the body, then it's healthy condition. So our position is, the part is to serve the whole. And Krishna is the whole. He's that from which everything comes. So that's our position of happiness. But that happiness is a position of humility. We're not to be served. We're not at the center. Krishna is at the center. In fact, and recognizing that Krishna is at the center, that's humility. And my position in relation to the center is to render service. That's humility in all circumstances. In all circumstances. At all ages, and all everything. And pride destroys it. There are two things. So we're speaking one of those two things. There are two things. Envy and pride. They destroy good things. Envy and pride. So we're going to my plan was to spend some time on the pride topic. Here's a little dictionary, Oxford Dictionary definition of pride. The inescapable agent of someone's downfall. That's an Oxford Dictionary definition of pride. Cool, huh? And when there's pride in the heart, it pulls you down. Pulls you down. And even someone may reach their hand out to try to help you. And it's a very precarious situation to be prideful. One becomes attached to pride, and anything valuable or a quality, a character, a trait gets smashed by pride. So I have this phrase, I have a little graphic that goes with it. Beware of the beast named pride. So there's the beast. Beware of the beast named pride. Philosophically, there are two divisions of material consciousness, two divisions of consciousness, I and mine, aham and mama. Aham mameti in one phrase, but it has to be iti, aham mama iti, I and mine. And there's a material and there's a spiritual conception. The spiritual conception we discussed just this morning with the Chinese devotees in relation to Radharani and Chandravali. It was a nice discussion. But the spiritual conception is, Krishna, I am yours, and you are mine. Or at least my relationship with you is mine. What do I possess as mine? My relationship with Krishna. Everything else that we may have and call it our mine, poof, after some time it's gone. My house, my family, my bank balance, my health, my, fill in the blank. That which comes from me, I think of as mine, the material consciousness. So my assets and also my debits. But all of that is temporary. It's not who we are, nor is it mine. So that's the material. Pride is the material mind conception, and it like the illustration shows, it keeps us locked into material consciousness, the fruits of this body, and that's mine. But those are material conceptions. There's a saying, some of you may know the saying, it's from the Bible, book of Proverbs in the Bible, pride goeth before the fall. You heard that one before? Some of you have heard that one before. Pride goeth before the fall. So where does pride arise from? This is a little math formula. There's fruits of piety. I've never seen a fruit tree that has all those different kinds of fruits on it, but they're the fruits of piety plus a heart that's impure equals pride. And pride is thinking about oneself as all in all, and thinking oneself as greater than others. Pride destroys humility. It's the nemesis of humility. And there's a very nice discussion about this during the Thanksgiving weekend here in Houston. My plan is, Krishna permits, we'll be discussing Madhurya Kandambani. What's Madhurya Kandambani? It's a book written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of our previous acharyas, where he is going through step by step the 9 processes of bhakti that are given by Rupa Goswami, beginning with faith and ending in prema and everything in between. So he speaks also about pride. So you can't go further on the bhakti path with pride because it blocks progress. Yeah, it's something that one has to let go of. So besides this source of pride being the fruits of piety and trying to be the enjoyer of the fruits of piety because the heart is impure, there's an additional source of pride. This is what's described in Madhurya Kandambani. Labha, puja, pratishta. So those are different than like, wealth or beauty or fame or strength. They're opulences of this world that go to people. Queen Kunti. You all know Queen Kunti. Anyone not know who is Queen Kunti? You kids know who is Queen Kunti? No idea, right? Kunti? Yes? Who is Kunti? Tell me who she is. Kunti is the mother of... Kunti is the mother of... Yeah. Very good. Very good. There's a nice section in Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 8, where Kunti is offering prayers. The prayers of Queen Kunti. It's a beautiful chapter. So she speaks of 4 Janma, Aishvarya, having wealth. Shruta, good education. And Shri, beauty. Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta, Shri, beer. She says it makes the mind crazy. Unless you're pure, then it's not a problem. But if your heart is not pure, then it's a problem. But there's, according to Madhurya Kandambani, this book describing the stages of bhakti, supposing you're doing bhakti, We're all doing, to some degree, something in devotional service. And supposing you do your devotional service very nicely, supposing you do your devotional service very nicely, something's going to come. Labha, puja, pratishta. Pratishta. Someone may give you some special recognition, or they may, beyond just recognition, worship, or some kind of special award or title or position or something. So profit, adoration, distinction. And the same problem, if the heart is impure, then you get pride. So there's pious activities and there's devotional service, because they're not the same. Pious activities like giving in charity, or opening a hospital, or opening a school, or something. You know, there's standard, classical, pious activities. Let's just take what happened here recently. I've understood, because of the hurricane, the devotees that had something in their hand had the opportunity to give that something that was in their hand to others. So they opened up Govindas to do work to help people get prasadam when they had nothing to eat otherwise. No electricity, this and that. So, but that's not not material piety, because they're giving Krishna prasadam. And so forth. When Krishna is at the center, then it's devotional service. But supposing the person in charge of Govindas, who made that decision, thinks, I want to write up in the paper so I can get some recognition saying that we did some good work to help people during the hurricane calamity. So with that motivation is in the heart, that's a problem. Doing beneficial work for others is our life. But what's the purpose behind it is the consideration. One of the, again, in Madhurya Kandamani, there's a stage of bhakti that's steady, and there's a stage before steady, and that's the unsteady, anishtata bhakti. And that unsteady bhakti, one of the categories of unsteady bhakti described in Madhurya Kandamani, it's a nice name, Taranga Rangani. Taranga means waves, and Rangani is small waves, and playing with the small waves of a little success in your spiritual life, and then you become the enjoyer of the waves of the little success in spiritual life. It's a category of unsteadiness, or enjoying the facilities offered by bhakti. It's a problem. It's not like you shouldn't have facilities, but the meditation of aspiring to become the enjoyer of the fruits of bhakti, the benefits that come to you from being engaged in bhakti, Taranga Rangani. It's a type of unsteadiness. So now comes another practical question. Supposing you don't want, but it comes, and somebody says, "Oh, Prabhu, you did something so nice," or the person in Govindas, "You did such a nice service. You did so many nice things to help so many people during this hurricane fallout. Well done, well done, well done." They're getting some praise and some recognition. Or the pujari dresses the deity very nicely, and it's a festival coming up, and they plan it, and the temple decoration is just fantastic. And so the devotees come and pat the fellow on the back and say, "Wow." Or anything. The Sunday feast you cooked was really good, or You led a nice kirtan. When I arrived at the airport, we were late, but we arrived around the same time as Nilamadeva with his wife and 2 kids. He was coming from Denver and I was coming from Chicago, and our baggage came out of the same belt, number 12. So we spent some time, and I really like his kirtan. I don't know about everyone, but I really like his kirtan. But he's been very busy dealing with raising 2 kids, and he's been, the fatherhood has been consumed him, and he recognizes it now. He's looking to get back to more temple-centered and devotion of a different type centered. So we just had some discussion on that topic. I really like his kirtan. So I was thinking about this evening's topic. Supposing I start praising him, how's he going to receive it? Or supposing somebody praises you. I mean, it's another thing if somebody criticizes you, but supposing somebody praises you, what do you do? So here's what sometimes what people do. No, 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 no. And sometimes it's yes, 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 yes. And neither of those choices on the menu is the right one. So, because one is negation or impersonalism, the other is self-aggrandizement. So what do you do? And one of the things to do in principle is you pass it on to wherever you got the ability to do that something from. I mean, I've heard Shamsudra say many times, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he banged me so many times in the head, I now I know what to do. I'm just following him. He told me what to do, and I'm following him. So credit goes to him, or Prabhupada, or it doesn't stick. The problem is where you think you're the owner of that praise, or that distinction, or that honor, or that title, or that something. Where did it come from? What's standing behind me that picked me up out of wherever I was, placed me in a position where now I can lead nice kirtan, or give a nice class, or dress the deity very nicely, or something, or something, or something. Credit goes to where the credit is. It's one of the teachings about leadership. Give credit where credit is deserved. So the credit is deserved not to me, but to the person who gave to me whatever it is that I'm giving. I got it from them. I was trained by somebody to do something nicely. The credit goes to them. I just said yes instead of no. I just said yes. So that much credit. I said yes. But it's my teacher. It's the one who picked me up, dusted me off, and made me a gentleman, or a lady, or a Vaishnava, or a Vaishnavi. Here's a nice description from Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Lord Krishna is never far from they who are humble. Many tall mountains stand between Lord Krishna and they who are proud. Now the 2 paintings are illustrating one of the Rasalila. There are two main Rasalila seasons, spring and fall. And during one of those 2 Rasalila seasons, Krishna detects pride. The gopis are thinking, oh, we're special. I mean, not like a worldly person might, but he detected some pride, and so he just disappeared. And they went mad. Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Reenacting his pastimes and talking like mad ladies. in both paintings, it shows Krishna's hiding in the tree. He wants to see what's going to happen. What's their feelings, what's their emotion, what's their behavior. Well, the other one, he's hiding behind the tree. So best to not have Krishna disappear, have Krishna in front of you by this nice quality of humility. Another reference from Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there's this mountain. A mountain stands between Lord Krishna and they who are proud. The intelligent serve the Lord by remembrance. Those subject to pride do not attain the Lord, even though they may encounter him. There's many examples, but a classic example I like very much is Krishna and the washerman. You know the pastime? When Krishna was leaving Vrindavan, going into Mathura, he wanted that the cowherd boys would have suitable clothes instead of village garments, have city garments, suitable for going into Mathura, the big city. And so he came across this washerman. And he said to the washerman, "My dear washerman, we've been invited by King Kamsa to come to Mathura. Could you assist us kindly? I'd like the cowherd boys to dress appropriately for entering into Mathura. Can you give us some garments so they can dress properly?" It's very polite. And the washerman was insulting. Who do you think you are? These are the clothes of the king. If the king found you wanted some of his clothes, he'd kill you. Get out of here. And insulting. So what did Krishna do? He didn't like pride. So he walked up to the washerman, put his fingers underneath his chin, and lifted the talking part of his body from the rest of the part of his body. He separated his head from his body and took the cloth and had the cowherd boys dressed properly. Because Krishna didn't like pride. Even they encountered him, they didn't recognize him. Now others, when Krishna entered into Mathura, they recognized him. Kubja and others recognized him instantly because there wasn't pride. Or the whole Leela of Govardhan Hill was instigated. One of the reasons was Krishna saw the pride of Indra and he didn't like. Indra's an elevated person. He shouldn't have pride. So he curbed his pride and it worked. And at the end of the Leela, he is with his elephant carrier Airavata, bathing Krishna with the celestial waters. And Indra's pride taken away, offering prayers before Krishna. There's another situation when Krishna was with the cowherd boys, and the cowherd boys were hungry. So he requested one of the cowherd boys, over there's a yajna going on, ask the brahmanas for some of the items that we can give to the cowherd boys because they're hungry. And the brahmanas didn't even pay attention to them. And the cowherd boys came back disappointed. They reported to Krishna because they were proud. Holy little boys, and we're not going to pay any attention. But immediately, Krishna sent them to the wives of the brahmanas, and immediately they brought everything to take care of the needs of Krishna's cowherd boys. So Krishna was pointing out to them, pride checks the tendency to do the right thing. But the gopis didn't have that. The wives of the Brahmanas, not gopis, the wives of the Brahmanas didn't have that pride. The wives of the Brahmanas who brought items for Krishna and Balaram to eat were not learned like their husbands, but they actually lived their lives according to the essence of the Vedas. There's a few more messages, and there's too many more. I think I'm just going to not go through the whole list. Some of you in the room may not be so well acquainted with the 6 Goswamis. So there's Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who we're followers of, and he gave the chanting of the holy name as the Yuga Dharma and propagated it widely. And he didn't write books, but he gave teachings to the Goswamis and trained them in the teachings and asked them to write the books describing spiritual life and bhakti life. So one of those 6 was Raghunath Das Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami is pictured here. You may recognize the picture, some of you. He was from one of the wealthiest families in India during his time, during his life. You know, name some celebrated wealthy families, the Birla family or this family, that family. You know, enormous wealth, humongous wealth. That's the family he was born in, but he had no attraction. He was the eldest and the only son, and he wanted nothing to do with their opulence. Rather, he wanted Lord Chaitanya's association. It's a long story, wonderful narration. There were obstacles and obstacles, and somehow he made it. He got the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and he made it to Puri. When he was in Puri, his super wealthy, mega wealthy father wanted his son to not be deprived, so he sent so many gold coins every month with some servants to take care of all of his necessities. So Raghunath Das initially said no, but then he accepted the gold coins and used the gold coins to feed the Vaishnavas. And one of the Vaishnavas that he invited regularly was Lord Chaitanya. And after some time, Lord Chaitanya stopped getting invitations, so he asked his servant, what happened? Raghunath isn't inviting us anymore to his meals. He said, well, Raghunath felt really badly that how can he accept money from a materialist and use it to serve the Vaishnavas? Oh, really? So what's he doing for his food? And Lord Chaitanya said, he's taking the position of a mendicant. He stands outside the gate of the Jagannath temple. The Brahmanas come with their basket of Jagannath Prasad, and poor people stand at the gate, and the Brahmanas give some charity to the poor people, and he just accepts his charity that way. And that's his meal. The wealthiest family in all of India. And then later, Lord Chaitanya said, I heard Raghunath isn't doing that anymore. Why not? He said he felt like a prostitute. Maybe he'll give me, maybe he'll give me. So he didn't feel good about that. Oh, really? So now, what's he doing for his meals? Well, there's a stall for people who are poor, and he goes to that stall, that Jagannath Prasadam stall, and they give it to poor people. Oh, that's very good. And then he stopped doing that. So why did he stop doing that? He didn't feel right about it. So what's his food? He takes his meal by going to what's at that booth, and it spoils. They take it by the side of the temple and leave it for the cows. And the parts that spoiled, what the cows won't eat because it's spoiled, he goes there, washes with ample supply of water, and there's a hard core of what's inside the rice, And once he washes it thoroughly, that's his food. So that's what the painting is. It's that area where, on the left side of the Jagannath temple, it's still there. What's spoiled Jagannath Prasad they give to the cows. And that was where he gathered his food for the day. So he's very humble and very renounced. Incredibly, we shouldn't imitate the behavior of such an elevated person. He wrote a book, a 14-verse book. That's a very nice book. Mana Shiksha, Instructions to the Mind. And the first verse, I'm going to read you the first verse, but it speaks of Sada Dambhan Hitva. Always give up pride. Dambham. Always, Sada, always give up pride. Here's the verse. Oh, my uncomprehending inner self. This is an instruction to his mind. My dear brother mind, I humbly prostrate myself before you, taking hold of your feet, I beseech you, please give up all pride. And surrender fully to Sri Guru, to the spiritual abode of Vrajadam, to the residents of Braja, to all the Vaishnava devotees to the Lord, to the Sattvika Brahmanas, to the holy name of the Supreme Lord, and to the ever-fresh and youthful divine couple of blossoming beauty, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and in this way quickly develop sublime attachment to them. So that's the first instruction, and the whole book is very elegant and very elevated. So there's a whole series, and I don't think I'm going to go through the whole series, unless you want me to. Here's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Many of you know who is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Prabhupada's spiritual master was Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta's father was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Just about a week and a half ago, we observed the disappearance day. You might have had a nice talk. Someone spoke on the disappearance day of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He lived during the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And he wrote 100 books. And one of those books was songs on Sharanagati. Sharanagati, Sharana, Agati, attaining the position of shelter. And one of the 6 limbs or elements of surrender is humility, dainya. So in one of those songs, Amara Jivana, I'm wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity. So he's berating himself, but speaking in favor of taking profound shelter. You have the mood of humility and Sharanagati, taking full shelter of the personality of Godhead. Here's his son, and also in our disciplic succession, Bhaktisiddhanta. Give up pride, the weeds that choke the creeper of devotion. Same as pride is the nemesis. Pride is the nemesis of humility. And without humility, how can you have devotion? Srila Prabhupada's statement, similar, along the same line. One who has a simple and grateful heart can easily enter the kingdom of God. Because entrance into the kingdom of God is through devotion. But one who has a simple and grateful heart will engage in devotion, service to the Supreme, because from the Supreme comes everything. And that I recognize with gratitude, and rather than thinking it's coming from me, or my prowess, or my ability, or my skill, or my cleverness, or my endowments, with humility and gratitude, one can easily enter the kingdom of God. think I'm going to stop here because I'm on slide number 19, and there's 32 slides. And it's already 8 o'clock. Scripture, I'll do a couple. A scriptural example of a person who was prideful is Daksha. Daksha the meaning of his name is he's expert. And his expertise was particularly in fruitive activity. And Daksha was attempting to serve as a Prajapati, or progenitor of mankind. So with his good wife, he produced sons that were very qualified. And as the painting shows, Narada Muni, Daksha sent his sons to go to a particular place to undergo austerities so they could qualify themselves first through austerities to have good praja. They were to assist him in his Prajapati program. However, Narada Muni met them, and he examined them without the details. There's details in the Bhagavatam. But he examined them to see, are they really inclined for material life, or are they really inclined for spiritual life? And after examining, they weren't inclined to material life, so he invited them, why don't you come to my ashram, and you can become nice brahmacharis. So that was the first batch of 1,000 sons. They all became brahmacharis. Then Daksha had another group of sons, this time 10,000 sons. Same thing happened. He warned them, look out, when you go to do your austerities, beware of Narada Muni, he's going to try to hijack you. And sure enough, that's what happened. And bold as he was, Narada Muni went to give the good news to Daksha. Hey, guess what? Your 1,000 and 10,000 sons joined my Bhakti Brahmachari ashram. And Daksha was insulting. And he cursed Narada Muni. Something else happened, and something else happened. He offended Lord Shiva. That was a big problem. He got his head chopped off. And the persons who chopped his head off said, yeah, do something. So he put a goat's head on his body. He died of embarrassment. So he came back again in his next life, Daksha also. Pride. It's just examples of pride. Another nice example of pride was Durvasa Muni. Now Durvasa Muni was extremely gifted. Hey. Durvasa Muni was a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. So he, as Lord Shiva, is Ashutosh, he's easily pleased and easily angered. On the painting shows he's getting angered. And one time, Durvasa Muni went to visit the palace of Ambarish. And Ambarish had been undergoing a fast for some number of days in order to give pious credits that he would earn from that fasting to his citizens. And it was time during the end of that fast on the Dwadasi day to break his fast. Durvasa Muni came right at that time. And Ambarish was a king. Durvasa Muni is a brahmana. How fortunate you've come just at the right time. Could you please break the fast first? And Durvasa Muni said, sure. But before I break the fast, I have to go take my morning bath. and do my morning duties. Only took a long time. And the time to break the fast was passing. So the merit would not go to his citizens. So he consulted the Brahmanas, what to do, what to do, what to do. The Brahmanas said, you can break the fast without breaking the fast. Brahmanas can be clever sometimes. Just a palmful of water, sip the palmful of water, you're breaking the fast, but not breaking the fast. So he followed the instructions of the Brahmanas. And then Durvasa Muni came. Aha! You broke the fast first. You're an offender. Now, Durvasa Muni was envious. Ambarish was getting more honor. The Kshatriya king was getting more honor than him, the super qualified Brahmana. So in his fit of anger arising from pride and envy, he grabbed some hair from his head, dashed it to the ground, said a certain mantra that created a fiery demon, and he motioned to the fiery demon, get him. Ambarish, he broke the fast first, kill him. And the fiery demon rushed towards Ambarish. There's a very, I like this detail. It says in the Bhagavatam that Maharaj Ambarish is a king. He didn't raise his arms. Something comes flying at you, and it's the autonomic nervous system. You have to think about it. Your hands go up. Something's heading for your face. His arms didn't move. His feet didn't move. His mind didn't move. He was protected, and he knew it. And so the Lord Sudarshan Chakra came and chopped the head of the fiery demon and then turned towards Durvasa Muni. Because once released, the Sudarshan Chakra doesn't stop. And then the whole thing happened. Durvasa Muni fled, and he went this place, that place, the other place. Eventually went to the abode of Lord Vishnu and said, I'm helpless. I can't, this is my chakra, yes, but because you've offended Durvasa to Maharaj Ambarish, you have to go fall at his feet. And if he gives forgiveness, Sudarshan Chakra will leave you alone. So he went zooming back and fell at Maharaj Ambarish's feet. It's an example of how pride and envy can destroy oneself and everything good. So that there's other examples and other examples. This is an example of Indra, the big festival. When the priest of the demigods was passing through the Indra festival, he was so filled with himself that he paid no attention at all to their priest. So he just walked out. And later he was informed, you got a big problem. You offended your guru. Anyway, pride. There's other examples and other examples. Many nice examples. I'm going to do one more. I'm on a roll. There was a situation where not Balaba Acharya of the Pushti Marg, but another Balaba Bhatta was visiting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. And he knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a very gifted scholar. He wanted to get recognition, pride, Labha Puja Pratishta. He wanted Lord Chaitanya's recognition. So he started speaking how he has written a very nice commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam that surpasses the commentary of Sridhar Swami. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made a remark in a public forum, one who places themselves not submissive to the Swami is like a prostitute. Swami meaning master, but Sridhar Swami specifically. So he was purposefully wanting to curb the pride of Balabhabata. Balabhabata understood what he was doing. He acknowledged what he was doing, and he became corrected, because pride is something that doesn't go well with devotion. It destroys devotion. So there's other examples and other examples, but the main message, in order to make progress in spiritual life, humility is a starting point. And with that humility, then pridelessness, and then going forward with devotional service that's not what's in it for me or how am I going to get something from it, but for Krishna. Now, before coming here, I was in the Chicago suburbs. Nice temple. It's just a suburb of Chicago. But it's now a nice big temple, a nice big community. We spent some time discussing devotional service where it's not that Krishna is at the center, but I'm at the center. Or Krishna's in the picture, but it's really about me. Self-centered devotional service. And it's a contradiction. Because devotional service is pure, and well, if it's all about me, it's not pure. And it happens. To some, it happens with most people until there's purity. So how do we get to the position where Krishna is fully, squarely in the center? That's by progress spiritually, by acknowledging what I've been doing for the past hour. Pride is a problem. And humility is its cure. And the method is devotional service in the mode of humility, where it's not about me or gaining something, recognition, or anything. It's about pleasing Krishna. That's our standard. And progressively, if one cultivates that standard, one can get there in good association. So I hope the topic was meaningful. Let's see if there's some discussion amongst the devotees. Ten after 8. And we started at 6:30. 6:40? What time did we start? 6:40? Okay. An hour and a half. Questions or comments? Yeah.
Thank you for the nice class, Maharaj. Thank you for the nice class, Maharaj. I was trying to follow the sources of pride that you were showing, and you listed many examples. But one such example that stuck with me was the example of the washerman. The other examples, it was very clear, like for example, the Durvasa Muni, he was proud of his scholarship or austerity, whereas
Durvasa Muni was what?
Proud of his Brahminical standing. But it looks like the washerman was proud for no reason.
He had a position. He's the washerman of the king. And because the point in that particular regard was, even when seeing the Supreme Lord face to face, he couldn't recognize him. And that which was blocking was his pride.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So what's the question?
No, that was the question. To me, it appeared like there was no particular reason for a living entity to be proud. It looked like the innate.
He has a position in relation to the king. He's not the king, but he has an intimate service to the king. People can do that. One might say, you might say, or somebody might say, that's a pretty menial position. It's a very special position. It's the garments of the king, and he's in charge of the garments of the king. Privileged position. Who's going to get that privilege? He was proud.
Sure. Thank you. If you would allow, I have a second question.
Okay.
Could you speak something about what's the difference between pride and self-confidence?
Pride and self-confidence? It's really simple. Where does the ability come from? What's the source of the ability? If there's real self-confidence, is not, I can do it. That's material. That's pride. The real self-confidence is, because some ability is coming from the source of all ability, I have confidence that this can be done in service to the one who gives all abilities. That's real self-confidence. I have an idea. I haven't decided yet, depending on what the topic for tomorrow is. But if we do what I was contemplating doing tomorrow, one of the little passages is the arrival prayer. Srila Prabhupada's arriving in the Boston Harbor, looking over the scene, risked his life with 2 heart attacks to get there, and looks at Mission Impossible and says, how is this possible? This audience here, they're completely immersed in ignorance and passion. How are they going to understand the message of transcendence? I don't know why you brought me here, but somehow or other you brought me here. So please enable my speaking to be such that they'll be able to understand it. If you brought me here to dance, then make me dance as you like. That's self-confidence. It's not pride, but the confidence that someone has sent him, the one who can give all the ability. I'm here, and the result is up to you. But that's self-confidence. It's honest. The result is up to the cause of all causes. But I'm here on a mission, and the result is up to... So that's what real self-confidence is. Not the false kind, or the prideful kind. Of course I can do it. Yes?
Hare Krishna Guru. I just had one simple question. You mentioned about two ingredients, right? One was impure heart, and second are all these aspects which makes you feel proud. So how can you keep yours pure?
Cheto darpana marjanam. You know the phrase?
No.
No, okay. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I mentioned, he came to give the Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the Holy, the Yoga Dharma, the chanting of the Holy Name. Collectively, congregationally, or singularly, or combination, the chanting of the Holy Name. And he didn't write books, but he gave teachings. And his followers wrote the books under his instruction to write books according to his teachings. However, there are 8 verses, Shikshastaka, 8 verses that describe the glories of the holy name. And the first one of the 8, that's the first line, Cheta Darpana Marjanam. The heart, or the mirror of the mind, sometimes translated that way, Cheta, consciousness, or the mirror of the mind, becomes cleansed. Darpana, Marjanam, cleansing, the mirror of the mind, or the heart. So that's how. Along with chanting, that's not exclusive. Chanting implies hearing also the messages of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, etc. Harikatha and the holy name combined is the way to cleanse the heart of dirty things. Anartha nivritti. You're very patient and tolerant. It's a very good quality. She's testing your patience and humility. That's her thing. And your thing is being very patient and tolerant. I'm noticing. I'm complimenting. So don't get proud. Okay?
Thank you.
You know the state, there's similar topic or response. So besides Cheta Darpana Marjanam, there's 9 stages of bhakti. You know what those 9 stages of bhakti are? Faith, Shraddha. Krishna then sends to the faithful person, sadhu sangha. Adau Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha. And then what do people do in the association of sadhus? They do with sadhus what sadhus do, bhajana kriya. Those are the first 3 stages of bhakti. And then following bhajana kriya comes anartha nivritti. There's the answer to your question. The unwanted things are taken care of by bhajana kriya in the association of sadhus. There's another very nice scriptural reference. It's saying the same thing, just the language is different. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. There's unwanted things, they're auspicious things, bhadra, and then it's opposite, abhadra. Nashta means to destroy. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. The impure, the unwanted things in the heart are taken away. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavata means in relation to Bhagavan. So the book and the person, Bhagavata. Nityam Bhagavata sevaya. Rendering service to the scripture, the Bhagavatam, and to the person who speaks and lives the scripture. And that's how those abhadras, the unwanted, the dirty things, can be removed. It's the same thing, just the language is different, but same principle.
Prabhu, excuse me, I had a quick question about Durvas Muni.
Durvasa?
With all his anger issues, like how did he achieve the level he achieved?
He's not always angry. He's sometimes very, very, very pleased.
Okay.
Do you know? You probably know. Durvasa Muni came to town in Vrindavan.
Okay.
And the gopis, there's different narrations, the gopis were off in a field. And they saw Durvasa Muni. And they ran to Durvasa Muni. and fell at his feet. Oh, you're exalted Brahmana. Is there something we can do to serve you? He said, yes. I'm really hungry. I've been fasting for many, many days. I'd like something to eat. And then the gopis said, well, we'll run quickly to our homes and make something nice for you to eat. And Durvasa Muni said, you don't understand. I'm hungry. I want something right now. The gopis looked at each other thinking, he wants something right now. They looked to Radharani. Radharani took some water, some dust in Vrindavan, put them together and called them Vrindavan biscuits and offered them to Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni said, what? You expect me to eat this? And they said, but you try one. You know, Radharani is really expert. Just taste one and see what happens. And he doubtfully tried one. It was so wonderful. So he gave a benediction to Radharani. Easily angered, easily pleased. Ashutosh, both. And I give you the benediction that whatever you cook, it will be like nectar. And anyone who eats your cooking, they'll live a long life and be very healthy. That news was carried to Mother Yashoda. And it was on that basis that every day Radharani came to cook for Krishna. You know the story. You know something about it at least. So that's the background. I mean, there's different versions of how it came to be, but he gave a benediction. And she was fearless. And she was very gifted. So he gave this special benediction that enabled Radha and Krishna, even from childhood, they could associate together regularly. So your question was how to get all that power.
I mean, isn't anger one of the anarthas that he was supposed to...
But he's a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva, who is Ashutosh. Easily angered, easily pleased. Lord Shiva gives benedictions, but don't cross Lord Shiva. You gotta look at Daksha. Chopped his head, gave him a goat's head. Everyone said, oh, he's lost his head. Okay, goat's head for this guy. So, easily pleased, easily angered. He's a partial incarnation, just built into his capacities. Yes, anger is not. And the anger that Lord Shiva would exhibit, and sometimes the anger that Durvasa Muni would exhibit, was very inappropriate. There's sometimes that anger is appropriate, and sometimes that anger is not. And Durvasa Muni didn't have that GPS system for his anger.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Humility is essential for bhakti. That's what we learn from all the scriptures. While humility is like considered as a bad trait for in the material life to progress. So it's a contradictory in the material life and the bhakti.
No.
So how should we balance it?
The materialist, by definition, they're not in favor of the Supreme. And therefore they're not in favor of qualities that are attractive and lead one to the Supreme. Rather, it's flip, the pride as opposed to humility. So that they like, without naming names. But there are some persons that are so proud. And they don't get it. But, anyway, some persons are like that. So, in the material field, there are things that come in the news where some person makes a gesture of going out of their way and showing kindness in a mood of humility to another person who's in a difficult situation, even a competitor. And that's honored. But in a materialistic society, you don't do that. It's just a sign of weakness. And people, you show weakness and people take advantage of you. So don't show weakness. Be very strong. And don't be a gentleman. Certainly don't be humble. It's just different value system. The reverse, the mirror. Now, let's take the example of Maharaj Ambarish. He was humble. He didn't do anything, but he was protected fully. Prahlad Maharaj, so many nice, Haridas Thakur, so many nice examples. So what should we do? That wasn't your question. Your question is, why is this contradiction? It's a different value system. The value system for the Vaishnavas, they want to be close to Krishna. They want to access that connection to Krishna. So if I'm thinking pridefully, I'm not going to be inclined. So they're thinking about themselves, and that quality of their relationship with Krishna it's insignificant. But somehow Krishna, you'll be kind. Anyway, be kind upon me. Pick me up and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Back to this question about cleansing the heart. One of the Ashtakas, one of the 8 verses of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exactly that. Just place me as an atom at the dust of your lotus feet, and let me be always engaged in your service. That's humility, but with a spiritual aspiration. And there's nothing more powerful. And the powerful persons will be destroyed by that greater power, because Krishna will protect them, always. That's not the faith of the materialist, it is the faith of the spiritualist. Rakshishatiti Vishvaso, that the Supreme Lord is my protector in all circumstances. This she won't stop. Just staring at you like you're going to melt. And somehow you're maintaining patience. It's just amazing. What do you do with a little girl like this? She's your daughter. You give her some water so it cools her out or something? Huh? What a character. Anyone else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, on the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj.
Hey! Don't. You got your daughter's pulling her arm, and that's not right. Go ahead.
So, when you said that Ambarish Maharaj didn't raise his hand,
Yes.
or didn't take up any arms because he knew he was protected. So, this sense of protection is that nothing will harm me?
Yes.
Or this sense of protection is anything happens to me, it happens because of Krishna's will?
Both.
Because if it is that nothing will harm me, isn't that pride itself?
No.
Because, okay, if I'm protected by...
It can be, but it's not. In his case, not. In the case of Prahlad Maharaj, was it pride? He was protected. He just had that confidence. And we don't imitate those kinds of... But your question isn't that. Your question is it prideful?
Yeah, I mean, if it's like, hey, I'll be protected, I have this fear, nothing harms me because I'm such a devotee of Krishna that, okay, I'm being protected.
No,
So that goes into
then that's pride.
pride.
That's pride. But there's one of my favorite verses in the Bhagavatam. Bhayam, which means fear. Bhayam, dvatiyam means duality. Dvitiya. Abhinivesh, one who is absorbed, or abhinivesh, in the duality of I am this body. Bhayam, dvitiyam, abhiniveshi taksyat. Fear arises in the heart of such a person. Now, if a person doesn't have their consciousness doesn't touch duality, they're not necessarily prideful, but they know who they are, and they know who their protector is, and there's no cause or syat that the fear doesn't arise within them. So it's not pride. It can be, but that's not what pridelessness is. I'm special. I'm going to be protected because I'm special. Not like that. Certainly it's a possibility, but there's a possibility not also. And so we have examples in Scripture. And at the Sunday feast in Naperville, I spoke about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he was fearless. He wasn't foolish, he wasn't proud. He was protected again and again and again and again and again. Not because of I'm special. He just was a virtuous man, and he acted according to virtue and relied upon the personality of God to give him protection. I could give the stories, but it's getting late, so I won't give the stories. There were threats in his life multiple times. And he just was fixed in doing the right thing for the pleasure of Krishna. I'll give one example. He was appointed by the British government to be the chief magistrate in Jagannath Puri. Now, Jagannath Puri is a big place. It's not just it's a nice temple. It's a big celebrity place. Many people from all over go to Puri. So he was the chief magistrate. And one of the duties he had as the chief magistrate was to make sure that all the offerings of the temple were going on properly, and they weren't. So he restored it 52 times a day, meaning as soon as one offering was removed, the next offering came. And then the time to make the offering, and that sits before the deity, and then after some time the offering is taken, and then the next offering comes, and so so many kitchen, a whole system. And he restored it. And in course of time, he was also looking at the finances of the Jagannath temple. And he found that the king, during that time, the king had embezzled money from the treasury of Jagannath. And he held, as the magistrate, he held the trial, and he found him guilty. And the penalty was he had to replace that money from his treasury to Jagannath's treasury and cover the cost, sponsor the Sunday feast, which is a privilege. Pay for the offerings until all that money was put back. The king got angry. The king arranged for 50 priests, 60 priests, some number like that, for 30 days to do a yagya that would kill Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kill him. Life threat. It came to his attention, and he continued anyways. And at the end of those 30 days, what happened was those black magic things, if they don't work, then they go back to the person who casts the black magic spell. His son died on the 30th evening. His son died. The king recognized his mistake. So he was protected. And there's other examples and other examples. He was protected. He was fearless. Not foolish, but fearless. Not proud, but fearless. Because Krishna is my protector. And I'm doing that which is for his pleasure. Even in face of intimidation. Even in face of threat of death. Other examples and other examples. So it depends on the consciousness when you're doing different things. What's the place of consciousness from which you're doing those things? I think I should end because it's already 2 hours. And you're all very patient, you're still here. Except our little anxious one over here. Do you know each other aside from this evening? She does this all the time with you? Okay. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.